Revelations tonight detailing what auditors term willful deceit on the part of shareholders and directors of the now defunct Capital Bank in transforming the savings and loans institution into a bank. Now, Joy News has also secured additional documentation detailing the source of funds for Sovereign Bank following a spirited public defense yesterday of the former board chair of the bank. Sovereign Bank is one of 5 banks dissolved last week by the Bank of Ghana. Now, the board chair of the bank, of course, has had his lawyer yesterday issue a statement in which he defended his client quite forcefully, insisting he knew nothing about the circumstances that contributed to the collapse of the bank because he had resigned in March. Well, I've just been joined in the studio by my colleague Raymond Aqua. Raymond, yesterday we spoke to lawyer for the former board chair of Sovereign Bank, who had argued that his client was a victim because he resigned in March this year when the BOG revealed to him some questionable transactions in the bank he claims happened on his blind side. Now listen to Kwesi Amoah-Afojima.
When he became aware of the improprieties, he became alarmed. He is rather a victim. As far as we are concerned, he is a victim who is now being, presented and described as the perpetrator.
Well, I asked him yesterday if the former board chair, Kwame Champonche, who he claims knew nothing about the questionable transactions, was a shareholder in the Sovereign Bank. Is Mr. Che a shareholder in Sovereign Bank?
I suppose so. I think I would have to verify that, but I suppose that he was at some point. I will have to find out.
So he's a shareholder, and yet he claims he cannot be blamed for what happened in the Sovereign Bank. He was not only the shareholder, but was the chair of the board until 4 months ago.
If I've never said that he has not had anything to do with Sovereign Bank, what we have tried to do and want the public to understand.
No, what you said to us is that you cannot blame him.
Interpreting the whole thing that happened as fraud and then false pretenses. Also false pretenses. It was money which was there. And the false pretenses means that you say that you have something which you don't have.
So that's the lawyer yesterday speaking to us. So Raymond, let's fact check what we heard. The question about whether or not the Kwame Champonche, the former board chair of Sovereign Bank, had shares. He wasn't categorical about it. What do we know now from the documents we have?
Indeed, he was as of 2015 and his date of investment. And to be clear, as of that particular time, he was the majority shareholder in that particular bank. Now, let me give you the different dates and times where his investments were made. First, on the 2nd of 2015, he actually had some 5,315,882 cedis there, and there was also treasury bill on 19th of November. Yes, that's October 2015. Some 25 million on that date, and the date of maturity was the 2nd of November 2015. Now, if you go back to the fixed deposit which he had as investment in the Sovereign Bank, it was on the 11th of November 2015. This was some 6,898,655, and was supposed to, its date of maturity was actually the 10th of February 2016. And the institution, the institutions also differ in this case. In the first place, we have Kwame Champonche, whose fixed deposit on the 2nd of November 2015, the 5 million, was Fidelity Bank. We do know that the other one, the treasury bill, was Ecobank Ghana Limited. And we also know that Fidelity Bank, again, had some 6,898,655 being his last investment. If you put all of this together, he had about 31,904,000 as what they call shareholding in the Sovereign Bank.
Okay, so that's a confirmation of the various investments he had put in as a shareholder in the bank, and he's the single largest shareholder, as we know. And yesterday, the lawyer confirmed that these monies were paid by Capital Bank in his name. He confirmed, but there are others. Let's talk generally about the source of funds. Remember, that source is important. Why? Because the Bank of Ghana, in their statement, had said that Sovereign Bank, use capital that was non-existent.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have the details about where that money came from. Who else contributed money to set up Sovereign Bank?
Let's start from Edward Foucault Che And Mr. Fokoche is also listed on the website of Glycogen as a member of their board.
Okay.
So he had 20,764,027.40 as equity share in that particular sovereign bank. Indeed, the institution that was holding this was Zenith Bank Ghana Limited. The security holder is MC Management Limited. And to be clear, this happened on the 21st of October 2015. With the intent of date of maturity being 20th of January 2016. So that's Edward Fokoche.
And you mentioned that he is on the website of Glyco.
Yes, as the director and a member of the board.
And that is interesting because there's a link between Glyco and Kwame Champongche.
Yes, he chaired that particular board. He's the owner of that particular company.
Founder, yes.
Set it up in the 80s.
In the 80s, yes.
So
there's a link there.
Yes, that's the connection between the two. There is also another, Albert Ejay Boatin. Mr. Ejay Boatin has 6,910,646, and this was invested on the 2nd of November 2015. Through Fidelity Bank and also security holder being MC Management Services Limited in this case. And Mr. J. Boatin is in the financial sector too. Previously worked with some banks, but is no longer working with these banks. And he's not on the board of Glyco, to be sure. And so let me bring you the other gentleman involved in this case. Abukari Abdullahi. He actually had 9,568,587.95. Also invested on the same 2nd of November 2015, and the date of maturity being the 1st of February 2016. Indeed, this was through Fidelity Bank too, and the security holder is MC Management Services Limited. Now, another name that comes up, which you sure should be interested in, apart from Mr. Kwame Echampong, is Dr. Tetenati.
Who is he?
Dr. Tetenati has been in investment for a very long time. He's actually known in the investment cycles as a prominent person. He's also been a lecturer for some time and has taught in various parties. Indeed, he was a director of the Sovereign Bank itself. And you do know that Sovereign Bank is deemed...
Oh, so he was a director of Sovereign Bank?
Yes, he was a director of Sovereign Bank. And he's done other things in the banking sector. He's prominent and known to be a major investor in that particular area. He had specifically 2,653,328.41, and the date of maturity is the 10th of February 2016. This amount of money was invested on the 11th of November 2015 through Fidelity Bank Ghana Limited. And the security holder is actually MC Management Services Limited. And there is a petition of Kwame Champongche, which I've actually told you about consistently. And we do know that he is still with Glyco as the board chairman and owner of Glyco in this particular case. And listen, the names are in threefold.
Tell me.
There is the single individual who has 3 different investments, one in treasury bills in that particular company, and that is Kwame Echampongche, and I told you that all totals 31 million. The other person who seems to have another level of contribution in different paths, one being fixed deposit on one end and the other being a treasury bill, is Abukari Abdullahi. The per person with an equally substantial amount of money invested in this company is actually Edward Fokoche, who I told you about, has been CEO of Glyco Life Services since 2010. And it's also on the website of Glycogen as a director.
Listen to what the Bank of Ghana said about these shareholders. The Bank of Ghana in the statement says it emerged that Sovereign Bank's initial capital contributed by its shareholders was funded from transfers from Capital Bank, which had been presented to the Bank of Ghana as investment on behalf of the bank, which means that from what we're reading, these names, the monies that these had been sent in these names, the Bank of Ghana says, in fact, came from Capital Bank. And it goes ahead to say that subsequent to its licensing, a substantial amount of the bank's capital was placed with another financial institution as an investment for the bank. The bank has, however, not been able to retrieve this amount from the investment firm with which it was placed. And it has emerged that the investments were liquidated. Somebody went and took the money out.
Yeah.
Liquidated by the shareholders, okay, and parties related to them. So in other words, the individuals we just mentioned who contributed money, right, as the document have it, the Bank of Ghana says they then turn around after they contributed to liquidate the money, right? It says the bank, however, not been able to retrieve the amount from the investment firm with which it was placed. And it has emerged that investments were liquidated by the shareholders, including Mr. Echan Ponche and others, and parties related to them. Following enquiries by the Bank of Ghana, the promoters of the bank admitted that they did not pay the promoters, as in the names we've just detailed. The promoters of the bank admitted that they did not pay for the shares they acquired in the bank. So just let that sink in for a while. The names that we are now detailing and the various amounts they contributed, the Bank of Ghana says they admitted that yes, the monies were in their name, but they actually didn't pay for it. It says the promoters of the bank have since surrendered their shares in the bank, while the directors representing these original shareholders have since resigned. And that confirmed what Mr. Che himself had said, that he resigned. So that's what we know as far as the names are concerned. But let's move on to something else that we have, Raymond. And it relates to two other banks that collapsed last year. This is actually excerpts from the BOG's 2014 examination and inspection report into now defunct UT and Capital banks. On UT Bank, what did this report say?
Okay, so the report stated particularly that in UT Bank, 2 payments were made to the former CEO and the director, Mr. P.K. Amwaben, I'm sure you all know him, from a loan defaulting entity, which is Kofi Jobs Limited. The loans total 5 million Ghana cedis and were never disclosed to the board of the bank. I hope that's clear.
I see.
So 2 payments.
I remember that
altogether 5 million.
In a sovereign bank case,
yes,
the lawyer told us yesterday for the resigned board chair that monies were taken from the bank, and as board chair, he never knew about it. And that's the reason why he resigned, which appears to be what the Bank of Ghana audit is pointing out in the case of UT.
Yes. So 5 million was never disclosed to the board of the bank. There was also a significant amount of intergroup lending involving other subsidiaries of the holding company, which is UT Holdings. And the significant amount we are talking about is 71.6 million Ghana cedis and also 14.3 million US dollars. So other, the UT Bank was under the bigger company, UT Holdings. Yes, other subsidiaries, which are within the enclave, the UT Holdings, also got monies. And this amount is what I'm talking about, 71.6 million and also 14, that's cedis anyway, and 14.3 million, which is in dollars. Now, there are also connected party loans.
Other individuals who also took loans, some of them above the single obligor
limited. Okay, so let's start with this point. First, Ibrahim Ahmed's related companies amounting to 261.4 million Ghana cedis and 6.4 million US dollars.
Okay.
And also Quincy Sintim's related companies amounting to 84.1 million Ghana cedis, and also Beige Group's related companies amounting to 10.9 million Ghana cedis. Now, let's be clear, Beige Group is one of the banks that has actually gone under this new arrangement.
So that's the link there. Now, this document also details that the bank then sought a waiver, that's UT, of the Ibrahim Mahama related company's single obligor violation. So, in other words, the single obligor simply means that the Bank of Ghana have regulations that say that you cannot
exceed an amount of money given to a single person who's taking money from you as loan. Having violated that, the audit found that the UT then sought a waiver of that single obligor violation by the bank, yet undertook a pass through $6.4 million transaction by giving Beige Capital Savings and Loans a $5 million placement as guarantee for Beige to extend a $5 million loan to Holman Brothers. Now, placing foreign currency with a savings and loans company is a breach of the banking law, the audit says. And it says, likewise, the extension of a United States dollar loan facility by a savings and loans company was in breach of the banking regulations. So that's what this document that was as part of the bank's inspection and monitoring report said about UT. But what about Capital? Okay, so for Capital Bank, it says that there was a web of transactions involving insider parties that is, directors, shareholders, and their related companies. A committee made up of board of directors was tasked with the investigation of these transactions, and it made some significant findings that you should be interested in. The findings were as follows. The initial transactions imply willful deceit at the conversion stage from a savings and loan to a full Tier 1 banking license. At this stage, the shareholders appear to re-engineer capital that's amounting to 56 million Ghana cedis through suspect placements to local financial institutions. It proceeds to say that on 30th of March 2016, the CEO of the Capital Bank wrote to the head of banking supervision requesting that a non-existent investment of 482.4 million Ghana cedis, which included the 56 million, should be converted into a 5-year debt.
I see.
Now, the banking supervision in a letter dated 3rd of June 2016 referenced BSD 52 2016 to the managing director of Capital Bank that the BOG granted approval in principle for the non-existent investment of the 482.4 million Ghana cedis to be structured in a loan facility to be paid by the following shareholders over a period not to exceed 5 years.
You see, that's where people have then said the Bank of Ghana officials back then in 2016 had a hand in the collapse we've seen because of approvals they granted. They sort of just closed their eyes to what was happening, granting approvals. But do we know who was the head of the banking supervision in 2016?
Okay, so we do know that Raymond Amanfo took office in 2016.
Okay.
And that, yes, he was not there in 2015, but he took office in 2016.
Okay. That's when, as we said, the BSD, that's the BSD, the Bank of Ghana Banking Supervision Division, wrote that letter. In 2016, he was there as a head of the department. But there were key individuals that this report names.
Yeah. It actually,
as far as the Capital Bank.
So these are the directors who were asked to pay the amount of money, in this case being the 482.4 million over 5 years. Atu Essien. And Atu Essien is the founder of the Capital Bank itself.
Okay.
You know, Capital Bank started as Capital Plus, First Capital Plus Savings and Loan. So he set up that particular institution and actually finally got it transferred. And you know that there's commentary about how it metamorphosed from a savings and loans company into a full Tier 1 banking. Indeed, that the report describes as willful deceit.
Yeah.
On the part
in the process of making that transfer.
That particular transfer. Now, the other person is Ohineba Osei Akoto. He's also listed as CEO of Ascent Financial Services on the website of the company.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, he's also deemed to be a director or acted in capacity of a director of the Capital Bank at a point in time.
I see.
So now, the next person in this case is Stephen Enchel. Now, he was the vice board chair of Capital Bank the time that it was set up.
Okay.
So when it actually got set up and they got a board chairman and everything, he was a vice board chair of Capital Bank. Now, one thing you should also know about him, he's a board member of Glycogen. And Glycogen's website still has him there as a board member. That is Stephen Enchel. The last person is Kingsley Atta Gansa. And Kingsley Atta Gansa, his last held public office prior to this engagement was sometime as head of projects at ESICH, ISIC Life Insurance.
Okay.
So that was, of course, he's been in the financial center too, and he's worked closely with Mr. Atu Essien in other pursuits and projects in times past, especially when they were proud to setting up First Capital Plus Savings and Loans. So these are the people that were supposed to pay the 482.4 million, which is being put in as a structured loan for 5 years, from the 2014 that the report put together to the time that it's supposed to be.
And it begs the question: did they actually do this? Did they actually pay the amount that the Bank of Ghana granted them to pay over 5 years? We all know what happened to Capital. It's no more.
Yeah.
Right? So did they pay? And if they didn't pay, what has happened to them? And so these are details from the BOG's 2014 examination and inspection report. And this was done by Boulders Advisors Limited into these banks. Well, thank you very much for that. Let's quickly speak to a banking consultant, Dr. Chahene, who joins us on the telephone line. Mr. Chahene, what you make of these revelations?
Hello?
Can you hear me, sir?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What do you make of these revelations?
Hey, there is a Ponzi schemes. They are all Ponzi schemes, and it's incredible. How can a Bank of Ghana person structure, go and approve a structured loan finance for people who are insider dealings? I mean, honestly, when I was listening to it and I'm surprised. I'm shaking like a baby. I'm really shaking because it's a serious thing. It's a Ponzi scheme they have created to take monies away. A shareholder, I mean, UT, I listened to it and I find it quite unbelievable. And the last one that struck me most is the capital, where Bank of Ghana has approved, restructured and approved for them. Staff of Bank of Ghana. It really confirms what I'm saying, that these have partly contributed to these problems that we have. I've listened to you critically and I follow it and I'm shaking like a baby because I've never seen any country where people will create Ponzi schemes and milk depositors' money. And some of them would have resigned, some of them, the companies. I think, look, the law must take its course. We must make sure that we treat this to its fullest end because it's a criminality. There is nothing about it that is banking. I'm surprised. To be honest with you.
In addition to being surprised about what you're hearing, are you also surprised that it's been a whole year since Capital and UT Bank went under, and the guys involved, the names you've mentioned,
are walking around freely.
Yes, we haven't seen any.
Walking around freely. I mean, what sort of nation do we have? Such a sensitive report has been made, and no action has been taken.
Well, we know that Yoko invited a number of them for questioning back and forth. Some of them were detained and released, etc.
Criminality. It should go through to the CID and go to court for them to prosecute it. The more we delay, I mean, look at it. People who have gone to structure, the Bank of Ghana staff who are helping structuring a loan, telling people to pay. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. So I've been right in saying that they have partly contributed to this. And anybody who has hand in it, it doesn't matter whether you are the head of BSG, whether you're the deputy governor, they should be all prosecuted. Because I've never seen anything like that. You listen to the related lendings, the related connected lendings. I'm surprised.
Yeah. I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Dr. Rich Bodetua. He is a banking consultant, giving us his view on this matter. But let's stay with the banking sector, because the Bank of Ghana, of course, has been accused of not acting, not being proactive. It appears that in the case of Men's Bank or Men's Gold, they are taking a proactive step. Are they not?
So they issued a statement today. It's a media notice by the Bank of Ghana asking the general public to be wary of depositing funds or investments at Men's Gold Ghana Limited. The Bank of Ghana maintains that the company has constantly breached the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act, that's Act 2016, despite several cautions for them to desist from the act of solicitation, receipt of money, and the payment of dividends to clients. But Men's Gold Ghana is fighting off that claim. Men's Gold Ghana says the notice is not only unfortunate and insensitive, but disparaging, insisting that the company does not accept such deposits. We'll get details of that statement shortly, but first, let me give you the full details of that statement issued by the Bank of Ghana.
In fact, there's a notice in the Daily Graphic, and it says the Bank of Ghana wishes to notify the general public that in spite of several cautions to Men's Gold Ghana Company Limited to desist from solicitation, receipt of money, and a payment of dividends to its clients, the company persists in its deposit-taking activity in breach of section, you mentioned it earlier, the Banks and Specialist Deposit-Taking Institutions Act. The Bank of Ghana wishes to reiterate that Men's Gold Ghana Limited is not licensed, and not licensed is in bold, and has no authority to engage in the solicitation, receipt of money or investments, and the payment of dividends or returns to its clients. The Bank of Ghana is in discussions with other relevant regulatory authorities towards the taking of appropriate action against the company. Accordingly, anyone who transacts any of the above-mentioned businesses with Men's Gold Ghana Company Limited does so at his or her own risk, and the Bank of Ghana will not, is in bold as well, be liable in the event of loss of investments or deposits.
So moments after that, the CEO of Men's Gold Company Limited, in a social media post, stated that it was the big joke, it was the today's joke, and the Bank of Ghana. So now you do propaganda. These are some of the comments. I beg, tell Ghanaians exactly what happened with the 5 or so collapsed banks you duly licensed and supervised for years. Please don't attempt to use our dear Men's Gold to cover up. I beg, make we think. And that's not all. It goes on to say he was actually responding to some statements or comments also made by those of some of his followers. And he responds to one and it says, Massa, Bank of Ghana does not have jurisdiction over Men's Gold. We do not operate under the Act 930. Why? Did BOG issue warnings and cautions before closure of the banks they recently closed? And again, which regulation or criteria in Ghana can't Men's Gold meet to soundly operate if it so be? And there was a statement also from management moments ago.
Yes, and it says, we hereby state emphatically that we do not accept deposits from customers or carry on a deposit-taking business in Ghana. Our activities are not within the scope of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act. It therefore cannot be said that we are in breach of the Act. It says, we pray that authorities will show more interest in building, nurturing, and supporting business growth in an enabling atmosphere, as anything to the contrary could be detrimental to the economy of the nation.
So, Evans, let's take a look at this act that we've been talking about, making reference to this Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2016. And 6.1 has been made reference to by the Bank of Ghana. And it says that a person shall not accept a deposit from the general public or carry on a deposit-taking business in or from within the country without a license issued in accordance with this act. And it goes on to say that the Bank of Ghana may prescribe classes of liabilities that constitute deposits. Take note of that. And it also says that where it is uncertain in a particular case whether a particular liability of a bank or specialized deposit-taking institution is to be regarded as a deposit, the Bank of Ghana shall determine whether that liability is a deposit, and ends by saying that a person shall not use a license under this act for a purpose other than that for which the license is issued.
So the question is, what exactly does Men's Gold do? And they say here in their statement that the activities of Men's Gold Ghana Limited is restricted to allowing customers to purchase gold or deal in gold as an alternative investment. The Bank of Ghana is clearly aware that these activities are outside the scope of the Banks and Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act, which you read.
But of course, the Bank of Ghana, the Act makes provision for that. The Bank of Ghana decides which classes of liabilities that constitute deposit. But let's speak to George Quay. He speaks for Men's Gold. He joins us briefly. Mr. Quay, thank you very much for your time here on NewsNite. So just for clarity, briefly tell us the kinds of activities that your company undertakes.
Hello?
Hello, George.
Yes.
I'm asking for you to give us a brief account of the activities that your company undertakes. Hello, George. Hello, George.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, George, briefly, I'm asking that you give us a brief account of what Men's Gold Company Limited does.
Great. Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. Men's Gold Companies, as we've already said and stated earlier in our statement, is a gold dealership, to put it mildly. And what we do is we trade in gold. We buy and sell gold. That is what our license mandates us to do, and that's exactly what we do.
Who are your regulators, George?
We are operating under the remit of the Minerals Commission.
The Bank of Ghana is not your regulator.
The Bank of Ghana is not our regulator.
So if the Bank of Ghana are not your regulators, in what capacity did you have these engagements? According to your statement, you had a number of engagements over the years and you've taken them through your business procedures. In what capacity did you meet the Bank of Ghana?
The Bank of Ghana is a government institution, and if you're operating within the laws of Ghana, if any government or state institution approaches you to understand what you do, there's nothing wrong with deciding to let them understand what you do. Yes, at some point they did raise red flags because they said people had approached them to raise questions about the kind of business that we have here at Men's Gold. So when they asked questions, we gladly opened our doors and had to sit down with them to let them understand what we do. That is why we find the statement quite surprising, because we believe they understand what we do. And if they didn't or had a quandary with any part of it, we would have believed that just as they approached us earlier, they would have done the same.
So this license from the Mineral Commission that you have, what are you supposed to be doing under that license?
In summary, we are supposed to be buying, selling, and trading in gold, which is exactly what we do.
But from what we are told, what you're undertaking now, you're undertaking derivatives and all. Does your license give you that mandate to do so?
You see, it depends on what you're calling a derivative, because when you go into the financial world or you go into the securities system, they'll tell you that a financial security with a value, a derivative could be like a financial security with a value that is that relies on or is derived from an underlying asset or a group of assets. Gold is an asset. A derivative itself could be a contract between two or more people or two parties, upon the asset or assets that is being traded in. So, yes, if you want to look at it as a derivative, you could be right within, your right as a media person to state it as a derivative, and we are not running away from that.
Do you or do you not, George, do you give interest to persons that deposit with you?
Of money. I want you to take it.
Hello, George.
No, yes, I'm here.
Do you or do you not give interests?
We do not give interest. What we do give is extra value. Let me try to explain it to you. When you bring your gold to Men's Gold, what we have here, which a lot of our customers trade in, is what we call the gold vote market. When you bring your gold to us and we put it in the gold vote market, I cannot give the details because that's a trade secret, but what we do is that we trade that gold. When we trade that gold, it yields extra value. So if you bring your gold at say 100 cedis, and we take that gold from you, right? And then we put it in our vault, and we tell you it is safe in our vault. However, we'll work with that gold, and then every month, whatever extra value that gold yields, we'll share it. That is what we do. It is not an interest, neither is it a dividend, as some have wanted to call it.
But that's outside the remits of the Minerals Commission, clearly. Isn't that the case?
No, it isn't outside the remit of the Minerals Commission. It is still buying and selling of gold. It is like when you bought a car from outside, you brought it to Ghana, and you sold that car. You make profit on that car. I mean, nobody, when we said we're going into the business of buying and selling of gold, we didn't say we're going into the business of buying and selling of gold not to make profit. Nobody goes into business not to make profit. When you buy and sell gold, you make profit.
Then clearly, from your explanation that you're giving, pardon me if I may be ignorant in that sector, but should you not be licensed by the Security and Exchanges Commission?
Hello,
I'm asking from the clarification you've given. Should you not be licensed by the Securities and Exchanges Commission?
Sorry, take that again.
I'm asking if you should not be licensed by the Securities and Exchanges Commission from the activities that you've told us about.
If we should not be
licensed, you should not be licensed by the Securities and Exchanges Commission.
Mm-hmm. Well, our license does come from the Minerals Commission. You understand me? And that is what we've been working with. And we have not violated any terms of that license as far as we are concerned. If anybody believes that we've violated the terms of the license that we are operating with, why don't you take us on?
Ms. Okwe, we're grateful for your time. George Quay speaks for Men's Gold Company Limited. But we've been speaking to a customer of Men's Gold. Listen.
When the first questioning came, I sat back to see whether anything could happen, but nothing happened. And so I gathered the momentum or the confidence, and I still invested with them. I must be frank. As I speak now, I have never been disappointed by the company. And with the kind of underground investigations I've made about them, they are very authentic. They are very authentic, I can say. So for me, I don't think that the Bank of Ghana stress them should really it's anything important to.
So that won't discourage you, clearly?
No, that would never discourage me. It has never discouraged me. Even today, I was there, and they served me so well. The customer satisfaction is so there. I went there I didn't even spend more than 5 minutes and I got my money. So really, I'm a very satisfied customer of me. And I don't think the threat issued by Bank of Ghana would discourage me personally. It wouldn't.
So as you heard there, a customer of the bank.
A satisfied customer.
Of course. George Riafi has further details on this particular
George,
issue.
what else do you have in the headlines?
So we'll be telling you more about whether the regulator should indeed act right now and what Men's Gold is doing. Do they come under the scope of the Bank of Ghana or the Securities and Exchange Commission? We'll also be telling you more on the Ghana Free Zones Authority set to introduce a minimum capital requirement for investors willing to operate under the free zones concept. The business news on NewsNite is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials and stationery. Heaven Plus, certified mosquito spray and call gentle on humans, a tough nightmare on insect. United Pensions Trustees, My Own Pensions, Papa, and Mark Auto Parts, sellers of Chevy vehicles. And that.
2, 3, 4.
Oh, don't worry, Grandpa. There are still 5 ripe and 15 unripe mangoes on the tree.
That's my boy.
Grandpa, it's still 1.2 kilograms of rice in the container.
My boy. And how much credit did I spend last week?
Well, you spent 5 CDs on calls, 2 megabytes on data, and you sent 5 SMS.
We are the only network that tells you exactly what you have spent and when you spent it. Dial *545# to access your statement on MTN everywhere you go.
The Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited's Back to School promotion is here with us again. From the 1st of August to the 30th of September, Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is giving a generous 10% discount on all school items like textbooks, pens, pencils, erasers, exercise books, and much more across all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takoradi, and Cape Coast. Parents, teachers, and students, please hurry while stocks last. For more information, call us on 0302 764 101 or 0302-764-209 or email info@kingdomgh.com. You can also visit our website www.kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books, where quality and affordability are both assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Akwisipa, you're still listening to this budget reading. Share, massa, say budget necessary. Now, what's the sabi? Share, be say me my personal budget. Now I am with the awarding pension. Hey, wait there, 1 man, 1 pension plan. Oh, share, me what I'm home watching now. Sign up to my own pension plan with United Pension Trustees and gain access to higher interest, additional benefits such as savings account and flexible contributions. Wait there, pension, papa. Secure your future by signing on to my own pension from United Pension Trustees. Go to your MTN Momo menu by dialing *170#. Select option 9 for pensions and insurance. Then option 1 for my own pension. Then you select option 1 to enroll and follow the prompts. Make daily, weekly, and monthly contributions to build your wealth with United Pension Trustees. For further inquiries, call our customer service center on 0242 436 880 or 0302 208 042. My own pension. Pension Papa.
That is a sweet sound of excellence. That is the sound from Mac. Yes, Mac Ghana is the #1 distributor of the world's best quality Isuzu and Chevrolet vehicles in Ghana. Isuzu trucks from 1.5 tons to heavy-duty vehicles. Isuzu buses from 15 to 33 seaters, double and single cabin pickup, available in automatic and manual transmissions. We also stock a wide range of Chevy cars from SUVs, sedans, and small cars, fully loaded with exquisite specifications. All our range of vehicles stand out due to its high fuel efficiency, safety, luxury, spacious interior, world-class delivery, and after-sales servicing. What's more, we offer flexible payment terms to meet your pockets. Mark Ghana is a sole distributor for Isuzu trucks and pickups, as well as all range of Chevrolet cars in Ghana. Call us on 0302-813-919 in Accra or 0242-039-550 in Kumasi. Visit our website markghana.com. Mark Ghana, with you for the long run.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. And Gold Dealer Fair Men's Gold is insisting that its activities doesn't come under the supervision of the Bank of Ghana. Now, this was contained in the statement issued by the firm in response to a public notice issued by the central bank today. We have details in this report.
Men's Gold, in its official statement, noted that because its activities does not fall under the Bank of Ghana, it therefore cannot be said that it has breached the Banking Act. According to the gold buying firm, it finds Bank of Ghana's public notice as unfortunate and disparaging because of the number of engagement it has had with the regulator over their business procedures. Men's Gold is therefore assuring the public that its business is safe and that its doors are always open to the Bank of Ghana and any other organization that would want to seek clarity on their business. Men's Gold added that it's imperative for government and other state institutions to support the initiatives of indigenous business to thrive in the economy, while putting in the correct supervisory mechanisms to ensure that they operate within the remits of the law.
And that was a Business Desk report. In a related development, banking and compliance expert Eric Niboy-Kote is pushing for a quick resolution of this issue if indeed is established that Men's Gold is carrying out activity which is not licensed by any other regulators.
Saw the Bank of Ghana notice to the public, and three things were important for me: receipt of money, payment of dividend, and then solicitation of funds. Of course, Bank of Ghana is the governing body for money business in the country. And so if Bank of Ghana finds out that Men's Gold is operating into anything that has to do with receipts of money, Bank of Ghana must be concerned. And if that were the case, I would expect Men's Gold to engage with Bank of Ghana to find out or establish the extent to which there is non-compliance. My worry is, under what circumstances will Men's Gold take money and then give gold dust or pieces at a certain date in future? What happens during the transition where the monies would have moved from the owners of the monies to Men's Gold? Who becomes responsible in the transition for that source of funds? And if Men's Gold is not licensed according to the company's code to hold monies belonging to other people, then what kind of business will Men's Gold build be operating in the land? And that is where I will expect Bank of Ghana to come in. And so I'm not surprised that Bank of Ghana is into this thing. My worry is it's taking too long to resolve.
Compliance and chartered banker Eric Niboy-Kote. In a related development, the Bank of Ghana is insisting that its investigations suggest that Men's Gold is indeed taking deposits. Now, sources say it will soon act on them and actually in support with the other regulators. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission is also saying that they have not licensed Men's Gold to undertake that activity because it's likened to actually taking monies and pegging it against securities, or what some would actually describe as pegging your returns against gold. Now, the Ghana Free Zones Authority is looking forward to settling on the new minimum capital for firms that want to operate in that space. Now, this is part of measures introduced in the new regulations which is expected to be passed soon. The requirement will ensure that investors wanting to operate in free zones companies or in that area have the required capital to do business in that space. Executive Secretary of the authority, Michael Befi, disclosed this to Joy Business after a media interaction.
We are trying to, one of the key things that we're looking at, because free zones is the only thing that doesn't have a cap. So if you are coming in, you can even come to free zones but with $50,000 and you can still do business. We think that's not right. We are looking at, want to target a certain class of people now. So in the amendment process, one of the key things we are looking at is the capping thing that we want companies to come with a specific amount of money. So you cannot just say that I have $100,000, I'm coming to invest. Because they do that and they have more money.
The Executive Secretary of the Free Zones Authority, Michael Befi. Now, most small and medium-sized enterprises are folding up not because of high cost of doing business, but rather the lack of good corporate governance. Now, that's according to the Executive Chairman of MacDan Group, Dr. Daniel Macaulay, who makes the case for SMEs and young entrepreneurs to be actually prioritize spending a little more capital into investing into corporate governance to help them survive on the Ghanaian market. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the meeting, Ghana SME Young Entrepreneurs, that is Chief Executive Summit.
Well, for me, it's not only about the high cost of doing business, it's the attitude. I always talk about that. Most SMEs don't start with the right attitude. Most SMEs don't focus in building systems and structures. I mean, these are the only thing that can let your business drive to the next stage. If you don't focus, if you are not ready to build your system and structures, and you don't have the right attitude towards it, you cannot make it to the next stage.
Executive Chairman of MacDan Group, Dr. Daniel Macaulay. And that's all for Business on NewsNite. And Emifa, Interesting thoughts I can see there on your
a number
WhatsApp
of
platform.
messages that people have sent in via WhatsApp 0244340437. This one from Kofi Abakan in Cape Coast says, I'm saddened by the dismissal of a hardworking patriot in the person of Mr. Boachi Jako. A man of his caliber should have been meticulous with his dealing, knowing very well the type of government and the president he's working with. And this one is also asking, hi Evans, where is Katie Hammond in this Marian Ejako sacking saga? We've also been wondering, trying to establish contact with Mr. Katie Hammond. And this one also from Yao Fori says, this is quite serious to hear that former President Mahama gave Mrs. Charlotte Osei a Land Cruiser as a personal gift. This is a serious ethical breach. We'll get into that story shortly. And some in Ireland says, I think the Ameri deal needs to be renegotiated to save the taxpayer some money, because this is a deal that was done at a time we needed power urgently. And it's time now for sports. Baba Tando.
Hi, MFA. Let's do football. And former Black Star striker Augustine Ahimful has cautioned football administrators to desist from making comments that could go to complicate the football reformation process that has been initiated by government. Regular football activities in the country have been halted after an investigative piece by Anas Arimiyao Anas, which sought to suggest some level of corruption in the local game. Augustine Ahimful, who is in favor of a total overhaul of football administration in Ghana, does not want the process to be rushed.
How can you fasten the process if members of the federation keep on publicly making statements that will not even allow the government supposedly to fasten the process that we seek to have? I think the comments that is being passed by individuals, I'm not saying all of them, should be looked at to the extent that someone has said even the government is more corrupt than the executive committee members, which for me was very unfortunate. In wanting to fasten the problem or the issue to make solved quickly, we should be very careful about the utterances that we are making.
Former Black Star striker Augustine Ahimful speaking there. Now, there are 6 places up for grabs tonight in the UEFA Champions League qualification. Already, Dinamo Zagreb have beaten FC Astana by 2-0. Karabakh FK are losing at home by 1-0 to Bati Borisov. Malmo FC is still in action with VD FC. 1-1 it stands in 77 minutes. Slavia Prague and Dinamo Kiev are also drawing goalless. It's halftime in the game between Standard Liège and Ajax. 2-0 for Ajax. FK Zvezda and Spartak Timava are also playing goalless. And then later at 7 o'clock is Benfica up against Fenerbahce. Quickly to tennis as the Rogers Cup enters day 2 today. Some matches that have already been played. Kei Nishikori has been beaten by Robin Haas 7-5-6-1. Stan Wawrinka stunned Australian Nick Kyrgios in 3 sets. He lost the first set by 1-6, but he went on to win the next 2 7-5, 7-5. Ryan Harrison is also through to the next round after beating Mackenzie Donald. Novak Djokovic is in action against Bahrainian Mirza Basic. He won the first set 6-3, and Novak Djokovic they are actually in the second set, and Novak Djokovic is on serve now, 5-4 for Mirza Basic. And there would also be matches between Grigor Dimitrov and Fernando Verdasco. Also, Jeremy Shardy up against Denis Shapovalov. And those are all matches coming up later tonight in the Rogers Cup. You can find out more on myjoyonline.com/sports. That's your sport.
Baba, thank you very much. Now, government says it will now include some private senior high schools in the country in the new double-track system expected to be rolled out in September. This is contrary to his earlier position that only government schools will run the system. Government will spend more than 300 million cedis on the system for 2018-2019 academic year of the senior high schools. The Education Minister, Dr. Macho Poku-Prempeh, said this at a news conference to explain the double-track system.
Said we need 8,872 teachers. These teachers will be gainfully employed, not short-term. They will be employed, and it will be increasing the number of students, teachers in the school. The cost is what we have analyzed to mean if you employ a graduate teacher, how much you pay, and the total cost is 267 million. The other intervention is that government is going to provide per head 50 cedis to every student as academic intervention, where the teachers, if they want to have to organize extra lessons in maths and English, they will not charge the students. but government will give them money to be able to pay for those extra students. And then we are saying that Saturdays, if it's not an SDA school, or Sundays, if it's an SDA school, should be declared academic intervention days, so that the teachers can supervise and give extra tutorials or extra classes or a supervised learning environment to kids when they come to school. If we add the teaching cost per year and the academic intervention per year, government has to find the money, nearly 300 or 400 million, to cater for that. And that is what Cabinet decided, that we're going to find the money, and wrote to the Ministry of Finance, not only to provide financial clearance, but to make sure that that money is found, because government regards education as the bedrock of national development.
Well, you heard the Education Minister, Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh. My colleague Maxwell Agbagba was at the news conference in Joyce and in the studio. Maxwell, so give us a bit more details about this decision to have private schools run the double-track system.
You know, the Conference of Heads of Private Schools had raised concerns about this double-track system. They said that it would put them out of business. But today at the press conference, the Education Minister actually stated that they would be absorbing some private schools, but they would first have to meet the criteria.
Okay.
So we work with private schools that we have to absorb. This is not the first time we are absorbing private schools. It has since independence. And private schools that meet the criteria would absorb them, make sure the teachers are qualified, make sure that the environment is safe and secure for teaching and learning, and we'll put in the Ghanaian kids when we have absolutely incorporated them to the choices that the kids have. That is why you might have a complete e-block today, but there's no student in, because it was not available as a choice school when the kids were choosing. And when we make it operational. So when this year CSSPS announces and comes up with the results of placements, when a kid goes to print out the placement form, it would indicate the time the kid reports to school. It will indicate whether the child is at track green or track gold. There's no confusion in that. There's not going to be scramble at the school door of 1,500 students. No. So you would know from day one when you are reporting to school and when you are going to break.
So, Maxwell, the issue about targeting also comes up. You know, there have been concerns about why not allow rich parents.
In fact, the finance minister's position is that we should be targeting that. Yeah. What did they?
In fact, he said that argument is true, but he listed a number of social intervention programs. He said we rolled out without, discriminating between the poor and then the rich. He said until we are able to get all Ghanaian children in schools, then this is the way to go. He also attributed the problem to data. He said it would be very difficult to get the data of people who are in a position to pay.
Okay, so for now, that is closed. That chapter is closed.
Exactly.
So there are no targeting of the schools. Thank you very much, Maxwell. Fascinating reporting there.
Well, so former EC chair Charlotte Osei is in the news, but she's been dismissing allegations that she's illegally holding on to an official vehicle. Mrs. Osei has been accused of failing to release a Toyota Land Cruiser V8 weeks after she was sacked by President Akufo-Addo. But in a letter to the media, Mrs. Osei says the only vehicle she has was a personal gift from the former president, John Dramani Mahama, to her. My colleague, Kwesi Parker-Wilson, joins me in the studio with a copy of that letter. What more is the letter saying, Parker?
Now, I want to read verbatim, MFA. The letter says, following my exit as chairperson of the Electoral Commission on June 28, 2018, I have returned all vehicles and other assets belonging to the Commission. I should be grateful if you would confirm this to me in writing or let me know whether there are any other assets in my possession which need to be returned to the Commission. And of course, signed by the former EC boss.
What does your checks at the EC review, Papa?
Well, we do understand that indeed she has returned all the assets and that the Commission did not say that the V8 belonged to the Electoral Commission. But the argument is that because the Electoral Commission at the time maintained or used money to maintain the said vehicle, the V8, some of them were claiming that the V8 belonged to the Commission, and that is why people said that she had to return the V8 to the Electoral Commission. But the V8 actually belongs to the state, and we are told by the Office of the President that indeed Madam Charlotte Osei has communicated to the Office of the President and that she is willing to hand over the V8 to the Office of the President.
Okay, thank you very much, Parker Wilson. It's time now for Flip Side, brought to you by Airtel Tigo. So, Evans, English sometimes can be very confusing for a lot of people, including myself in your
Of course.
Of course. So, tonight,
especially when you went to Saito, like I did.
I didn't go to Saito, fortunately, but Saito is a good school. But
after you said you go to Saito, patronizing. Okay, go on.
You're calling him Toby, but he prefers chicken to a fowl. What's really the difference? Let's hear him.
Between fowl and chicken, which do you prefer?
I prefer chicken. Why, sir? Because you can fry chicken, you cannot fry fowl. Chicken is very humble. If you want to kill chicken, chicken will just come and meet you. If you hold the knife, he will run and come and meet you. You not kill chicken. But fowl is very proud, because fowl now, he has stayed with you in your house. He now feel he's a family member. So if you want to keep fowl in Christmas now, you not go and plan it in June. You understand? It's like a coup. Like you want to plan coup to kill fowl now.
Have you trained fowl and chicken before?
I've trained fowl.
So what is your experience with fowl?
Yes, wanted to kill fowl for Christmas one time. Fowl now here that we want to kill him. Fowl now run, but did not see fowl again. You understand? But chicken is very humble. You understand? Chicken, you can even gossip about chicken where he is. Chicken will not know. You understand? And oil normally catch chicken very well. That's why I prefer chicken.
Okay. So MFR, you went to the private school. We understand. Do we even try to answer? So tell me, is there a difference?
There's no difference.
Okay. Fowl and chicken. No, it used to be a cartoon I used to watch. Cow and chicken. You remember that?
There's the difference.
That's the difference. And chicken. There's a fowl and a chicken. Okay. I mean, so says a private school person. But for us, it's like, we'll just take what you said. But that's it for NewsNite tonight. My name is Evan Spencer.
I am MFR Paul. You want to stay with the Geek Squad? We're talking privacy and data protection.